Okay.
Have you all lived in the same state, or maybe even the same town, your whole lives? Well, imagine picking up everything you own and moving to a whole different country. That's exactly what my parents did when they decided to move to the United States from Ireland to start new lives. The decisions my parents had to make to move to Ireland, as well as having to adjust to their new surroundings, allowed for my sister and I, as well as my whole family as a whole, to live better lives. Throughout life, many decisions have to be made, some being easier than others. My parents' decision to move to Ireland was difficult due to the fact that they had to leave the only place that they knew, but their hard lives pushed them out of their comfort zone to move somewhere completely new and start over. Both my parents grew up in very poor neighborhoods outside of Dublin, with each of their dads working 2 jobs in order to put food on the table for them. There's been many stories that my father has told me about describing his hard life in Ireland. One story my father has told me was that he and his friend were so hungry that they went in the garbage can and physically licked the banana peels that people had left over. Another story that my father told me was that he would see people fighting over food and clothing because they did not have enough of it. These examples of my parents' poor lives made them want to start over and create better lives for themselves. Later on, after coming to terms with their difficult lives and making something of themselves, my dad moved to America in 1986, with my mom following him 6 months later. Many of their friends and family moved with them so that they could have better lives as well. The first of their friends that arrived helped them find jobs and a place to live. Many of them crammed into apartments in San Francisco, which my father still points out to me when we drive by it today. My mom worked as a waitress with some of her girlfriends that also moved, while my father worked with his friend in an auto body shop. They began to find their place and almost immediately fell in love with their new home. After a few years, my mom and dad began to settle in and start working their way up in society. With only a few years of experience, my mom and dad began to work up in their jobs and save enough money to live in their own place. They moved into a houseboat in Sausalito, which is still there today. My mom got an office job, while my dad started his own construction business. Over the years, as they became more successful, they decided to move to a quiet town. Almost 5 years later, they moved to a town called Nevada, which I grew up in, where they would buy a house and start their family. While this story is coming to a close, I hope you can see how brave my parents truly are for taking the initiative to start over in a whole new country. Moving to a new country can be exciting and scary at the same time. By deciding to move to America, my parents are now very successful and gave the opportunity for my sister and I to become successful as well. They were so brave for picking up and moving to a new country, and the amount of love and respect for them I have is endless. Although my sister and I have heard this story over hundreds of times, I hope you can see how brave my parents are from hearing it only this one time.